Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Can we do a quick sound check just before we get going? Because you know how I am with the with leaving the microphone on mute. Can you hear me loudly and clearly? Because breaking news, probably the most significant non-boxing news of the year. Oh my god, what the fuck? Sorry. Yeah, sounding good. Okay, sorry. Just going through. Cool. We're all good. Let me just adjust the mic gain. You'll like this episode today because we're gonna go in a bit. Do you know what? Let me just quickly adjust the mic gain. Hold on a second. What sounds better, guys? Does this sound better? Number one, or does this sound better? Number two. Let me know. One or two. Let me know. Right. Let's get cracking. Conor Benn is cleared by Ukad. I assume of intentionally two quite a bit. Okay. Two a bit quiet. Okay, number one. Okay, one. Got it. So we're on one now. Okay. Right. This is the statement from Conor Benn. He says he's been cleared by UCAD. Now, one thing I'll have to say before we get going, let's start with the legal disclaimers before we get going, shouldn't we? I, as ever, am not insinuating that Conor Benn has intentionally taken any performance enhancing drugs. That's not my intention. My intention is simply to discuss the facts of this case and give my opinion where I see fit. It's down to the relevant legal authorities and the relevant bodies like UCAD to assess the evidence and to decide if Conor Benn is guilty or not guilty. So now that's the legal disclaimer out of the way, because you know some of the people that come and listen to the show are a bit hard of hearing. Here's the statement from Conor Benn. Let me ask you guys, are you shocked? Are you not shocked? Does this give you confidence in the in British boxing being a clean sport? What do you think it means for the state of anti-doping in British boxing? And do you think Conor Benn's been vindicated and proving innocent? We'll get a poll up in a second. Let's read Conor Benn's statement. This is Conor Benn. Today marks the end of a grueling 10-month process during which the WBC had already decided that I was innocent of any wrongdoing. After a hearing with the National Anti-Doping Panel in UCAD, I have now been vindicated for the second time. Hopefully, the public and various members of the media can now understand why I have maintained my innocence so strongly all the way through. The UCAD process is now formally ended and I remain free to fight. Naturally, I am pleased that I can now put this behind me once and for all. As you can imagine, the last 10 months have weighed heavily on me, and I am anxious that if this happened to me, oh my God, this is making me sick. This paragraph here, this is making me physically sick to read this paragraph. Listen to this bit. As you can imagine, the last 10 months have weighed heavily on me, and I am anxious that if this happened to me, it could potentially happen to any honest, dedicated, and clean athlete like me. I would like to thank my fans that have kept the faith. Everythingboxing.com, that's you, brother. I would like to thank my fans that have kept the faith when many have turned against me, as well as my team, Matchroom, my friends and family, sponsors, and also my legal team, all of whom have shared a belief in me and a commitment to ensuring the correct result being obtained and justice being achieved. Only with the strength of all this support have I been able to continue during this challenging time. I now intend to put this matter behind me and look forward, which begins with fighting as soon as possible so I can remind everybody who I am. Conor Benn, then, look at this paragraph. He calls himself an honest, dedicated, and clean athlete. Would you agree with Conor Benn on that? Let me ask you guys a question while I do this poll, right? And I'm going to give people the option of what they want, okay? You can have option one, the red pill, or you can have the blue pill. So I'm going to be Morpheus. I'm going to be the light-skinned version of Morpheus, all right, in this episode, all right? If you choose number one and you choose the red pill, right, I am going to give you my 100% raw, uncut, and honest opinion without any. I'm not going to try and cut it down the line. I'm not going to try and, be unbiased or whatever they call it. I'm just going to give you my raw and uncut exact feeling. Or you can pick the blue pill. You can pick the blue pill, and I will call it 100% down the middle. I will make an effort to try and see both sides. I will try to be as unbiased as possible. Whatever you want me to do, I will try and tell you everything that you want to hear. I will try not to hurt anybody's feelings. Do you want the red pill or the blue pill? If you want the red pill, type in red and I'll give you the red pill. If you want the blue pill, type in blue and we'll do this episode 100% vanilla, just like all the other channels. And it's no problem. But I will tell you now, the reason I'm telling you this is because if you want the red pill version, don't complain about biasness. Don't complain about this and that. Just don't complain. All right? Don't complain. So I'm just going to get the poll up right now while we do this. All right. And then we'll get going. Let me get the poll up right now in the chat. So you can either have it raw like Soldier Slim or you can have the fake version. It's up to you. Do you want the real version or the fake version? I can only tell you the truth as I see it. Hit the like button, please. Hit the like button. If you want the raw version from Ultratech, please hit the like button. Please support the channel because you're about to get it real and raw. Do you agree with Ukad clearing Conor Benn? Allegedly. We haven't had any confirmation yet from British Boxing Board of Control or Ukad. Okay, so you guys have selected Raw. The polls in the chat, right? Raw and uncut. So the polls in the chat, do you agree with Ukad clearing Conor Benn? Right? The chat has voted unanimously for me to give my opinion as I see it, yeah, and not try and play this down the line, okay? So don't bother coming at me and complaining about bias, all right? The chat has spoken, as Milan has said. All right, here we go. Let me give you my honest opinion on this. First and foremost, I will say this, right? I am glad that Conor Benn is able to fight again. I've never, ever thought that Conor Benn should be banned for life, okay? Because other boxers who have failed drugs tests in the past, like Tyson Fury, are still boxing. Fighters like Jerome Miller, who have failed multiple drugs tests in the past, are still boxing. So I have never, ever been in for Conor Benn being banned for life. I've always thought that he should be able to resume his career, right? After a ban. That's my opinion, yeah? My opinion was he should have got banned, a short ban, and should have been allowed to resume his career, okay? But I've never, ever thought that Conor Benn should be banned for life. Those opinions actually have never come from me. The opinions of his promoter, Eddie Hearn, though, are somewhat different. And I'll go and find you the screenshots down the line. Eddie Hearn is on the record as saying anybody who fails 2 drugs tests should be banned for life. And Eddie Hearn is on record as saying that. And we've got the screenshots of that on Twitter, which I will be happy to go and drag up at some point today. So I'm not the one who's changed my views, yeah, on drug testing, but Eddie Hearn has, because he has said anybody who fails 2 tests should be automatically banned for life. Well, he's completely changed his view on this and a lot of other things during this Conor Benn thing. So let me tell you that I do think that Conor Benn should be allowed back into the sport because, like I said before, Tyson Fury's allowed in the sport. Jerome Miller's allowed in the sport. Plenty of other fighters have failed tests and they're boxing. Now let me get to the meat and potatoes of this. I do not know, and I'm interested to find out how it is possible that Ukad could have cleared Conor Benn when they have the strict liability rule. And that's going to be the most interesting thing, yeah, about this whole saga. If you look at Amir Khan, right? When Amir Khan failed a drugs test, right? When Amir Khan failed a drugs test, Ukad accepted that Amir Khan did not intentionally take any performance-enhancing substances. But Amir Khan received a 2-year ban, right? Amir Khan received a 2-year ban on the basis of strict liability, as far as I understand it, which means that you have something in your system, okay? You have something in your system. And if you have something in your system, then you are responsible for what is in your system. No ifs, no buts, and no maybes. Here, if you look here from UCAD, professional boxer Amir Khan banned for 2 years following an anti-doping violation. And I'm not sure the font is showing very clearly here. There we go. And if you just look here, if I do a search, this is on UCAD's website here. And if I just get rid of this cookie crap here, and I just do a search for the term strict liability, this is UCAD's own statement on Amir Khan's test. Strict liability means athletes are ultimately responsible for what they ingest and the presence of any prohibited substances in a sample. It is important that all athletes and their support personnel, whatever level they are competing at, take their anti-doping responsibility seriously. Not doing so risk damaging not only an athlete's career, but also undermining public confidence in clean sport. So this would be my first question here. Amir Khan got found with a PD in his system, right, after the Kell Brook fight. Amir Khan was given a 2-year ban, as you can see here by UCAD. He was given a ban on the basis of strict liability. You had it in your system. You are responsible for what's in your system at all times. Can somebody explain to me how Amir Khan could have got a 2-year ban and Conor Benn could have got no ban? Just out of interest. And Joe, I'm going to get onto Conor Benn's changing stories in a minute. There's a lot to unpack here. But that's the first thing. Press 1 if you agree with me, or press 2 if you disagree with me, if you think I've got it wrong. Let me know about that. This is UCAD on Amir Khan. 2-year ban, Amir Khan, on the basis of strict liability. This is UCAD's chief executive, Jane Rumble, being quoted as saying that strict liability is the reason why Amir Khan was given a 2-year ban. You are responsible for what is in your system. Where's that video of Conor Benn saying that he's responsible for what's in his system at all times? Should we get that up? Do you remember when Jarrell Miller failed a drugs test and Conor Benn turned around and he said he's responsible for what's in his system at all times? He said his team, and I'm trying to find the clip, but I will find it in a minute. Conor Benn said his team are so thorough that even his own vitamin C samples get tested. Do you remember that? I might have to try and find that on UCAD. I can't find that at the minute, but I'm going to get the clip up and find that. It's hard to run a show and read the chat and do all this at the same time, but I'm working on it right now. Conor Benn, when Jarrell Miller failed a drugs test, he said, check your supplements. That's what Conor Benn said, isn't it? If anybody can find that clip, can you link me that clip? Because I'm trying to find that clip now. I should have saved it. But Conor Benn said, check your supplements. That's what he said. He said, check your supplements. My team check everything, even down to the vitamin D supplements that I take. So my question is, how did we go from strict liability and Amir Khan getting a 2-year ban to Conor Benn getting no ban? Where's the consistency? Again, press 1. I want you guys just to let me know, and I'll read your comments. If you guys have got any comments on that, let me know. I'll read them now, and then we'll move on to my next point of contention. But can somebody answer that for me? Do you think I want something there? If I'm Amir Khan right now, and I'm sitting at home, and Conor Benn's taken on Instagram saying he's been cleared by UCAD after failing 2 drugs tests, but Amir Khan had to serve a 2-year ban on the basis of strict liability, even though UCAD accepted that Amir Khan did not intentionally take any performance-enhancing substances. Amir Khan had to sit and take a 2-year ban, but Conor Benn has got a completely different ruling after failing 2 drugs tests in about 3 months. If I'm Amir Khan sitting at home, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to be on the phone to my lawyers, you know. What do you guys think about that? If I'm Amir Khan sitting at home serving a 2-year ban and Conor Benn serving no ban, I might have to give the fucking lawyers a call and find out what on earth is going on with that. Because that just doesn't ring right. That the lack of consistency there isn't quite there at all. cannot find this this thing of Conor Benn, but I will find it at some point. I cannot find the I can find a bunch of other videos, but I cannot find the video of Conor Benn. But if anybody has the link to that video of Conor Benn, can you let me know? I'm just looking through my library of videos here, and I don't appear to have that. So that'll be the first thing there. If you're Amir Khan, it's absolutely outrageous. Tony, there you go. He's been cleared, Tony. And Tony, if you want to come on, let me know. And Tony, I need to speak to you about Crawford and Spence, because I've got an announcement for that. I'd like you to come on, Tony, for that if you can. But anyway, Boxing Classics HQ says, where is Ukad's statement? I want some detail on why no strict liability. Exactly. We do need to get a statement from Ukad, because Conor Benn says he's been cleared. We don't know if he's been given a backdated ban. Eddie Hearn's now coming up now. This is Eddie Hearn on Conor Benn being cleared by Ukad. A sweet day. I'm not going to jump around and celebrate while not on camera. Love him, hate him. I couldn't give a monkey's. He's one of the biggest names in world boxing, and he's ready to light up the division. Eddie Hearn has declared that Conor Benn will now reapply for his British Boxing Board of Control license with a plan to possibly return in September and then have a huge fight in December. He has also clarified that Conor Benn has not been cleared via a technicality over jurisdiction. So what that means is UKAD have cleared Conor Benn on the basis that they don't think he's doped. UKAD haven't decided that they don't have the jurisdiction to say, look, we can't ban you. We can't rule any further. We don't have the jurisdiction. Allegedly, what's happened here is UKAD have heard some form of evidence and have somehow decided that he doesn't need to serve any kind of ban whatsoever. Guys in the chat, what do you guys think about what the precedence this sets for doping in boxing? To be honest, I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I would say, in my opinion, 99% of all elite level boxers are doping. That's my opinion. That's always been my opinion. I personally think with the news today that UKAD have decided basically to not ban Conor Benn in any way, shape, or form. I personally think the floodgates are open now. And if you're a British boxer in the UK, if you are not doping, you're an idiot. Press 1 if you would agree with me on that, and press. I'm just going to tell you, you asked for the red pill, right? I asked you guys, what do you guys want? The red pill or the blue pill? I've told you, if you are a British boxer in the UK and you are not taking performance-enhancing drugs, you are a fucking idiot. You're a fucking idiot. You are an absolute moron. And and there are top British fighters who do listen to this channel on the sly. There are family members of top British fighters, names you would know, who listen to this show. You guys already know some of the names of some of the trainers who listen to this show. You guys know the names. You guys know the names of some of the very, very well-known trainers who have appeared in the chat for this channel, right? You guys know that I don't speak to many people in boxing, but I do speak to a handful of semi-high profile people in the sport behind the scenes. And I'm here to tell you today, if your fighter is boxing in Britain and is not taking performance-enhancing drugs, you are a fucking idiot. Because as far as I'm concerned, the floodgates are open now. Very, very simple. The floodgates are open. If somebody can fail 2 drugs tests and not be held accountable for what's in their system, then at this point, there's no point. We just might as well not even bother. VADA testing, press 7 if you agree with me on this. VADA testing should now be outlawed in the UK. Press 7 if you would agree with me on that. There's no need to do VADA testing in the UK. What is the purpose of doing VADA testing? We don't adhere to the results. We don't adhere to the results. How many more test failures do we need? This man had 2 test failures in the space of 3 months. How many more test failures do we need to take action? 3 failures? 4 failures? 5 failures? 6 failures? How many failed tests do you need? Because obviously 2 failed tests isn't enough for UKAD to say, strict liability, you're responsible for what's in your system. Like they apply to Amir Khan, as you can see from the official UKAD ruling here. The standards that they've applied to Amir Khan a couple of months ago don't appear to be the standards they've applied to Conor Benn. So as far as I'm concerned, unless I hear any more information, then there's more information to come out. But as it stands, right, this is a green light for boxers to dope in the United Kingdom. And I'll be telling all professional fighters, all of them, at whatever level in the UK, if you are a professional fighter at any level in the United Kingdom, I'm telling you right now, get in contact with your drug dealer and get some performance enhancing drugs as soon as possible. I'm telling you today. I don't care if you're white collar. I don't care if you're amateur. I don't care what level you're boxing at. Tell them Ultra said it was okay. Go and find a drug dealer and go and get performance enhancing drugs and take them. Because as far as I'm concerned, all right, as far as I'm concerned, what's the deterrent? There is no deterrent. There's no deterrent, is there? That's the message, right? And again, I'm giving my opinion. That's the message that this ruling will give to me. And let me just say something as well. A lot of people were criticizing Dr. Usman. I think a few people owe Dr. Usman a fucking apology because Dr. Usman was bang on. You know, there's a reason why Dr. Usman's and people like this. There's a reason why you've got, and I'm not saying that Dr. Usman had anything to do with Conor Benn failing drugs tests. I want to make that clear. But a lot of people said a lot of nasty things about a Dr. Usman when Dr. Usman said that performance enhancing drug testing in the UK is a joke. You have to be an idiot to fail tests. Well, let me tell you right now, again, this is my opinion. If you're a professional boxing fighter in the UK, you should be giving Dr. Usman a call right now. Press 10 if you agree with me on that. Any professional boxing fighter in the UK, get Dr. Usman on Instagram, get Dr. Usman his number, and give Dr. Usman a call and bring him into camp because you've all seen. Doesn't matter how many drug tests you fail. It depends on how big you are, what your legal backing is, who your promoter is, what your name is, what's at stake. If you're big enough, then why not? Why not take performance enhancing drugs? Nobody's going to do anything. Ukad certainly aren't going to do anything, are they? What are Ukad going to do? What are they going to do? Faff around for 10 months and sit on information and then clear you? Not even go for strict liability. Let's talk about something else as well that I'm very surprised didn't take any effect on this ruling. And I want you to know if you agree with me or disagree with me on this. Do you guys think that the way Conor Benn's conducting himself should have played a part in the findings from UKAD? Let me explain. Conor Benn has had at least 3 or 4 different defenses throughout this whole process. Normally, right? This is just my opinion. Normally, in a situation like this, where you've been, found to have, failed or had an adverse finding, for a performance-enhancing doping test, right? Normally, when that happens, you kind of have one form of defense. You have one excuse, don't you, for how that got into your system. Press 7 if you agree with me and press 8 if you disagree. Why has the fact that Conor Benn has changed defense consistently throughout this process not counting against him in this verdict? Let me ask you a question. If I went to court on trial for murder and my defense lawyer changed defense 4 times during the trial, do you think that would affect my chances of being found guilty or innocent? What do you guys think? Do you think I'm on something there? Do you not think that counts for anything? Do you not think if I went to trial for murder and I changed my defense 3 or 4 times in the space of a 1-year period, do you not think that the jury would look at me and say, do you know what? It kind of sounds like Ultra might not be telling us the whole story here because he's changed defense about 10 times. Let me give you an example of this. The WBC turned around and the WBC ruled, right, that food contamination was the reason why Conor Benn had tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. Do you remember that? Right? Conor Benn, so the WBC said, the WBC ruled that it was food contamination. That was the reason why Conor Benn failed multiple tests. Now, when the WBC ruled that, Conor Benn came out and contradicted them. As you can see on the screen, he was the one who came out and said, it's not eggs. They've done me a disservice by saying it's eggs. My defense has never been eggs. And actually, if we go onto the WBC's website, if we can find their WBC official statement on Conor Benn, which I'm trying to find, the WBC made it clear that Conor Benn's original defense, in fact, we'll get onto his real original defense, but one of Conor Benn's original defenses was that his tests have been mishandled by VADA. That's what Conor Benn said. And he said that to such a degree that the WBC consulted somebody. And here we go. Here's the ruling. You see it right here. This is one of Conor Benn's original defenses here, right? And I want you to stick with this. This is very important, right? Very, very important. Conor Benn, the WBC consulted several experts in anti-doping laboratory analysis, including an expert consultant with over 30 years of experience in WADA and IOC accredited laboratory settings. The WBC concluded that there was absolutely no fault attributable to the laboratory that analyzed Mr. Benn's samples. And the reason because of that was because Conor Benn's original defense, and this is backed up by Matt Lawton in the Times, one of his original defenses was that his tests had been mishandled by VADA. Now, do you remember when Conor Benn went on Piers Morgan and he was complaining that VADA wouldn't even allow his lawyers or his own medical people to watch the handling of the B sample? Type in yes if you remember that. Do you remember when Conor Benn was on Piers Morgan? Conor Benn was on Piers Morgan and Conor Benn was talking about problems with VADA testing. He wasn't happy with the way VADA had handled his tests. He specifically said on the interview with Piers Morgan, I believe, his own medical team were not allowed to view the handling of his B sample. So that's defense one from Conor Benn. Yes, right? So you guys agree with that? Yep. So one of his original defenses, and that's believed to be the meat of Conor Benn's 700-page document. The meat of Conor Benn's 700-page document, right, is alleged to be that he is accusing VADA or the laboratory of mishandling his tests. The WBC threw that out of the window. And as a result, they gave him a get-out clause. And the WBC said, we're throwing this out of the window. We've spoken to expert consultants with 30 years of experience in these laboratories. There is absolutely no way that your samples were mishandled. You had clomiphene in your system. Again, remember, you know what? I also believe, and I could be wrong, there's an interview on YouTube with Tony Sims on Conor Benn. And I believe Tony Sims is on the record as saying that he doesn't even believe, and Tony, if I've got this wrong, I apologize. But I believe it might be this interview here with Boxing News Magazine. I'm not going to play the interview for copyright purposes, but I believe it might be this interview with Tony Sims. And there's an interview with Tony Sims, and Tony Sims makes it quite clear in one of these interviews. It might be this one, it might be another one, where I don't think he said he doesn't even believe that Conor Benn ever had clomiphene in his system. Remember, that was one of the early defenses that they were using. But they changed that defense, didn't they? They changed that defense. And that's the problem. How many different defenses have they used during this 12-month period? How many different defenses have they changed during this period. They have changed an awful lot of defenses. Do you think I'm on something there? Or I'm just being honest. I sit and think if I went up to court and I changed defenses many times as Conor Benn, let's just go through all of his defenses. Defense number one, well, when lawyers called the British Boxing Board of Control, and the British Boxing Board of Control were told, right, you have no jurisdiction over this, weren't they? They were told, weren't they? According to Robert Smith, the British Boxing Board of Control were called up and said, this has got nothing to do with you because he's failed a VADA test. He hasn't failed a UKAD test. So you don't have any jurisdiction over this. So that was argument one, wasn't it? Jurisdiction, right? Argument one was jurisdiction. And the British Boxing Board of Control, Conor Benn, Matcham, and the whole team, they got quite aggressive with the British Boxing Board of Control, didn't they? And they were quite adamant, it appears, behind the scenes that the British Boxing Board of Control shouldn't be investigating and shouldn't require UKAD to investigate because he never failed a UKAD test. So argument one appeared to be jurisdiction. Argument two appeared to be that the VADA testing, there was a problem with the VADA testing, right? They denied that there was any food contamination, as you can see via the WBC. They weren't happy with the WBC. In my defense to the WBC and the 270-page report provided to them, at no point did I indicate any VADA tests, that I failed any VADA test because of contaminated eggs. That's Conor Benn's own words. In my defense to the WBC and the 270-page report provided to them, at no point did I indicate that I failed any tests because of contaminated eggs. So he's thrown that excuse away. But then, all of a sudden, oh, and I forgot the fourth defense. He threw away his British Boxing Board of Control license. That was the other one. In an attempt to say, well, you can't sanction me. I'm not even licensed. Do you remember that one? Do you remember that one? Where he threw away, I mean, are these the actions? You asked me an honest question. And you asked me for the red pill. So if you're asking me for the red pill, I'm going to give you my honest appraisal. Are these the actions of somebody who's made an honest mistake? I'm just being honest. Relinquishes his British Boxing Board of Control license, which many people believe is it. And again, I'm not making any allegations. I'm giving my opinion. Many people are of the opinion that he relinquished his British Boxing Board of Control license in an attempt to not receive any sanctioning from the British Boxing Board of Control, and to basically try and make sure that there couldn't be a BBOC/UKAD investigation. So you had that, right? Then it's alleged that he has said that there was a problem with VADA testing. And then when that excuse hasn't washed, it appears that he's gone back to the whole food contamination excuse. To me, to be honest with you, I don't know how anybody could look at the amount of times that this argument has changed. The arguments and the defenses have not been consistent. Let me know what you think about that. It seems to me like Conor Benn's legal team have basically, and again, I'm not making any allegations. I'm giving my opinion. It seems to me that Conor Benn's legal team have simply sought to find a series of loopholes and a series of different defenses that they can use. A series of different defenses, and whichever one sticks, one sticks. What do you guys think about that? Do you think I'm being biased by saying that, or do you think I'm being unfair? Let me know how you feel about that. Am I being unbiased? Am I being biased for saying that? Am I unfair? What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think? I'm just calling it how I see it. The amount of times that this defense has changed. You've got Conor Benn on here saying it's not eggs. Then literally 6 months later, he's turning up, yeah? He's got a new team as well. Do you remember this? After saying it's definitely not eggs. I never told the WBC that my tests had anything to do with eggs. 6 months later, after it appears that nobody's willing to buy no one's willing to believe that VADA have mishandled his tests. He's now coming back with a whole new team, which I'm trying to find the link for. But he's now come back with a whole new team, and the whole new team are now alleging that there was some kind of food contamination. What's the food supplement? Because and anybody who's interviewing IFL TV, Eddie Hearn, Conor Benn, and they won't answer questions, and rightly so. They'll turn around and say the matter's finished now. But if anybody still wants to pretend to be a journalist and ask questions, I would like to know, what is this substance? What is the food substance that contains clomiphene? What is it? Well, we'd like to know. Like, what is it? Like, do you not think athletes should have the right to know? Here you go. It's right here. We don't make up stories on this channel. It's right here. Look at this. After months and months and months of denying that eggs had anything to do with the reason why he failed drugs test, he comes back, look, June of 2023, he comes back 2 months ago with a brand new team. And this brand new team are coming up with, look at this, look. Now, a new team of scientists working on his behalf believe they can demonstrate the presence of metabolites of clomiphene in his sample are consistent with contamination instead of oral ingestion of the drug, and could have derived from a combination of Benn's physiology and a consumption of eggs. But as you can see, a couple months earlier, Conor Benn is on the record saying, at no point did I indicate that I failed any VADA test because of the contamination of eggs. So you can see here, there's just a complete contradiction. 2 months ago, he's telling you that I never said anything about eggs to the WBC. 2 months later, he's got a whole new legal team who are saying the reason he's failed a drugs test is down to food contamination. And the Daily Mail here are alleging that it's down to the consumption of eggs. So how many times can you contradict yourself and change story in a 12-month period? And did Ukad not take any of this into consideration when they gave their decision? Because I find that, to be honest, to be highly suspicious. Do you guys not? That somebody would contradict and change the story. Again, it's right here in black and white. Tony, I'm going to give you the link right now. But let me hammer this home. For those people who are saying Ultra's biased, all right, here's the main question. IFL TV, boxing news. We need to know, how did clomiphene get into Conor Benn's system? Very, very simple. Ukad know because he's provided the information in his defense. How did clomiphene get into Conor Benn's system? Was it through eggs? If it was through eggs, question number one, why did Conor Benn say in March of 2023 that in his defense to the WBC, at no point did he indicate that he failed VADA test because of contaminated eggs? It appears that in his original defense to the WBC, he never ever alleged that food contamination was the cause of why he failed tests. So can someone explain why a couple of months later, all of a sudden, he's hired a completely new team, and all of a sudden now they seem to think that food contamination is the case? Where did this contamination come from? And who is the manufacturer? Do you not think that's a fair question? Because if you look at Conor Benn's statement, right? Conor Benn is saying this could potentially happen to any honest, dedicated, and clean athlete like me. So my message to Conor Benn would be, Conor, if you want to help potentially clean, honest athletes like you not getting incorrectly accused of taking drugs, then please, Conor Benn, come forth now and tell us, what supplement did you take that contains clomiphene? Professional fighters would like to know, Conor Benn. You've said it here in your statement. This could potentially happen to an honest, dedicated, and clean athlete like me. So, Conor Benn, if your defense to Ukad is that your food has been contaminated with clomiphene, can you please now tell us, what food did you ingest that was contaminated with clomiphene, and who is the manufacturer of that food? Because somebody needs to go to the manufacturer, the farmer, or whoever it is that's producing this food and tell them, you've got clomiphene in your food. Before I bring Tony on, press 7 if you agree with me and press 8 if you disagree. Do you think I'm being biased by asking that, or do you think that's a fair question? That if Conor Benn's defense that has got him off this UCAD charge is that his food is being contaminated with clomiphene, what food? What is the food that contains clomiphene, and who is the manufacturer? Because there's other professional fighters out there who will be consuming the same food and will also be failing drugs tests for clomiphene. Who is the manufacturer and what is the food? But I have a funny feeling that that question won't be answered. I have a very funny feeling that that question will not be answered. Ask Eddie Hearn that question. You know what Conor Benn's defense was. Two very simple questions. Simon Jordan, IFL TV, Boxing News, anybody. Just ask this very simple question. What was the basis of Conor Benn's defense? Did it allege that food contamination was the reason for clomiphene getting in his system? Yes or no answer. No bullshit. If the answer from Eddie Hearn, Matcham, or Conor Benn is a yes, two very simple questions. If your defense to Ukad was that your food was contaminated, why did you say that in your original offense to the WBC that you never ever indicated that food contamination was the reason why you failed a VADA test? Why did you say that consumption of eggs had nothing to do with your failed test? It appears that you either lied or you're changing your story. And the second question would be, what eggs? Where did these eggs come from? What is the brand of the eggs? Who else is ingesting these eggs? Is Conor Benn the only person in the UK who has managed to get hold of these eggs? Or are other people eating these eggs? Which eggs are these? I'd like to know what eggs these are because I don't want to take eggs that have clomiphene in them. Who is the farmer? Do you know it's illegal in the UK to use clomiphene to increase egg production? Allegedly, it's allegedly illegal to use clomiphene in the UK. So where do these eggs come from? Are these UK eggs? Are these foreign eggs? Who is the manufacturer? Where has it come from? Right. Let me give the link to Tony. Sorry. Guys, I'm going to read your comments. It's all about you now. I've given my views. I think it's just a green light. I think there's so many inconsistencies in. And again, let me make it clear. I am glad that Conor Benn is coming back to boxing. He doesn't deserve to be banned for life. You can't allow Tyson Fury to box on and ban Conor Benn for life. You can't allow Jarrell Miller to box on and ban Conor Benn for life. It's not right. Conor Benn should not be banned for life. He should be allowed to continue boxing because what I believe in is consistency. But let me summarize my argument while we wait for Tony to arrive. Tony, the link's in the chat. While we wait for Tony to come on and give his view on this, right? While we wait for Tony, right? Very simple questions. Conor Benn's defense has changed multiple times. That doesn't engender any confidence whatsoever. His defense has changed so many times. It's not food contamination. It is food contamination. It's VADA have mishandled my tests. VADA haven't mishandled. It's just been unbelievable. The amount of times the defense and the argument is changed has been absolutely unbelievable. So I would like some clarification over that. And I'd also like to know about this ruling in regards to the Amir Khan ruling. I'd like to know how Ukad found it possible to ban Amir Khan for 2 years on the basis of strict liability, but then found it okay to not ban Conor Benn for any amount of time. That, to me, those two decisions do not seem compatible to me. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but there you go. Those two decisions do not feel compatible to me in any way, shape, or form. Right, let me get for your questions. I don't know why I keep showing these old ass Michael Benson pages. Sorry, it's just this Twitter page at the minute is absolutely messed up at the minute. But in the meantime, while we wait for Tony to pop on, actually, let me get my headphones ready. Guys, give me your comments. We're going to go for quite a bit. I'm not planning to go anywhere. So if you want to grab a cup of tea, grab a cup of tea. It's breaking news. It is what it is. What do you guys think? I think, like I said, my opinion is, listen, as far as I'm concerned, Conor Benn has gone through the process and he has cleared the process. So he's free to fight, should be free to fight. I'm not even blaming Conor Benn, to be honest with you. I think Ukad, though, have a lot to answer for. And I'll be honest with you. Do you think Conor Benn, let's go to the poll. Do you think Conor Benn has truly cleared his name? I'm not sure about that. Right, here comes Tony. Tony, how you doing, my brother?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Oh shit, Tony, I can't hear you because you're fine. I'm just getting my headphones in. Tony, ignore me and talk away, Tony. I need to put my headphones in. Tony, give us your view. Talk away.
No, I'm gonna wait for you to get your headphones, even though you can't hear me.
I can hear you, bro. Let's go.
Okay, good, good. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Tony. I'm all the better for hearing you. You're my brother. Let's go. Let's go.
So first thing I want to say is I don't know why anybody would be surprised by We Back Cheaters, the WBC. And I find it hilarious that every athlete that's premier name is always some type of food thing when it's concerned with the WBC, whether it's Canelo with a steak, Oscar Valdez with some tea, or Conor Benn with some eggs. They always seem to find a way to make sure it's food related, which is suspicious. Outside of that, I've said this for a long time. I believe that there should be testing in sports if the punishments are equal and fair. However, I don't like testing in boxing. I think it should be done away with. I think they should get rid of it. I think what testing in boxing is an unfair advantage for the cash cow. And what I mean by that is if a cash cow gets caught cheating, they get a slap on the wrist. However, if a Gerald Miller gets caught cheating, he gets a 2 year ban automatic. So to me, it's a way that the pristine boxer can cheat and get away with it because they know there's no repercussions. Whereas the up and comers know if they get caught cheating, they're done for. So I don't like testing in boxing. I really see it as a handicap for the people coming up because the known boxers are going to cheat and get away with it. So I don't like it at all. As far as the eggs go, I
Yeah.
know I did some research on the clomid, clomiphene in eggs, and the only thing I could find is in the U.S. is we use it in our chicken production. I could not find anything about it in the U.K. at all. So I'm guessing he's getting his eggs imported for some reason from the U.S. to the U.K. Our American eggs must be that good that he's going to spend all that extra money to get them shipped in, I guess. Outside of that, I knew this was coming. I saw the Pierce Morgan. I did a video on it, and Eddie Hearn was alluding to the fact that he was going to be exonerated. He knew it was coming. I think at the end of the day, my personal opinion, this is alleged. I cannot prove it. I think they know he's guilty, and they're just giving him time served, like they did Tyson Fury with the board meat. Except they're saying he's innocent, even though they know he's guilty. Because if they do any type of punishment, he's already served his time. It's already been more than 6 months. It's almost been a year. Come October, I believe it'll be a year. So I mean, regardless if he was guilty or not, he still would be fighting. So I don't know. It is what it is. I don't like it. I think it's bullshit. And if we're gonna have drug testing, then people, regardless, need to be kicked out of the sport. And needs to be no ifs, ands, or buts. It doesn't matter if you're famous. And come back to your Amir Khan. The only reason why Amir Khan got banned for 2 years is because he's no longer a cash cow. He's no longer at the top. He's not at the pinnacle anymore. He's on the downhill. He's old. He's washed. So they don't care if they get rid of him for 2 years. But if you're making money, then and only then will they protect you.
Tony, I've actually found. I'm just I'm trying to find some clips of some old Conor Benn stuff actually, which people will find very very interesting. Tony, I will say this, and I agree with what you said, Tony. Actually, I would say this: if you're in the UK, certainly anyway, Tony, I would tell any fighter or any trainers now at this point, if you ain't doping, you're an idiot at this point. I think. Look, a line's now been drawn in the sand, Tony. There's no point in VADA testing in the UK anymore, Tony, because we just don't adhere to the results. I think that's what's been shown. I think any fighter that's wasting their time doing the voluntary, any kind of voluntary drug testing of any kind, yeah, you're fucking wasting your time, Tony. Any fighter paying for it or any fighter doing that now. If I'm a professional fighter, I'm not paying for VADA anymore. I'm not getting any fucking drug testing whatsoever. It's a waste of time, Tony. It's a waste of time. It's run more for one fighter, run more for all the other fighters. And we've shown in the UK now that a fighter can have two failed tests in a space of X amount of months for the same substance, right? And we don't sanction them. So what's the point, Tony? Give us your thoughts on that.
Again, I have to come back to what I said. The point is the machine will protect the big premier fighter, whereas it also helps the premier fighter win their fights because they have a chemical edge over guys that they're facing who don't have a chemical edge. Think about it like this: even though Eubank is a big name, obviously, I mean, I don't know, he might be doing PEDs as well, who knows? But obviously, the way that he cut weight and as bad as he looked during the weight drain leads me to believe that he tried to do it the right way. He didn't take PEDs to get down in weight, because there's a lot of things that you could take to help you get down safely and not affect your body. But we saw the signs of him being weight drained and not looking the same, etc. Had he got caught on it, I guarantee he'd be ostracized from the sport. But because for the biggest fight, the biggest money making for Matchroom was Conor Benn, and he's protected. It doesn't matter. Like again, to me, it'll never go away. They'll always do testing. In my opinion, I cannot prove it. It's all alleged. Got to say that for the lawyers out there. But I believe that they'll always keep testing so that their premier fighters will be able to do drugs and get away with it, and of course, they're going to try to come off of it off cycle so they don't get caught. But they know at the end of the day, if their fighter gets caught on it, there's no repercussions. But it keeps the guy that they're going to face, that they don't want to beat their fighter, at a disadvantage, because they know if he gets caught, he's out the sport. So that's why it'll never go away. I don't like it. I agree with you. It needs to be disbanded. Fuck testing. Let the guys take whatever they want, and we'll see who the best is, because they're all going to be chemical. And then we're really going to see who the best is.
All right, Tony. Tony, listen. You can stay for as long as you. I know, Tony. You can stay for as long as you want. I've got someone else, Tony, but I would like you to stay on for as long as you can, as usual. And anytime you feel like you want to jump in, Tony, give your view, jump in, or do whatever you want, Tony. Doors wide open, brother.
All right, let me get this off real fast if you don't mind, because I just
Of
want to throw
course,
this
please
out
do.
there. Because this
Please
is the
do.
main argument that I hear all the time. People are like, well, it's for the safety of the fighters. That's why we do testing, safety of the fighters, and I call bullshit, because here's the deal. If you have two people roided out their fucking minds, they're less likely to get injured than if you have one guy roided out of his mind and another guy that's natural. That guy that's natural is more likely to get damaged, hurt, killed, etc., being on nothing fighting a guy that's on something, than two guys that are on something fighting each other. So it's not about safety, in my opinion, at this point. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, no problem. Nico has appeared in the chat. Say sorry on Conor name. Now, you wanted the kid's career to be over. Unlucky. There was never a point, at any point, that I said I wanted Conor Benn's career to be over. Nico, obviously, as we do know, has learning disabilities and has a lot of problems, well, mainly with reading and writing, mainly. We shouldn't take the piss out of that. But yeah, Nico obviously has comprehension difficulties there. I've always maintained that, Conor Benn should not be banned for life. And that, like I said before, you can't have guys like Jarrell Miller continuing to box in a sport, but you ban Conor Benn. What I'm about is consistency. And for me so far, like I said before, there's no consistency in this UCAD ruling. Again, Amir Khan banned for 2 years on the basis of strict liability. No ban for Conor Benn. Hamid, how are you doing, brother?
Yeah, how's it going? Thanks for having
You
me.
right? No problem, Hamid. Say your piece, man. Say your piece. I'm going to go get a cup of tea, Hamid. Say your piece, your reaction, whatever you want to say.
I just want to say, I think drug test in boxing is a sham. And this has been going on for a while. The whole UCAD situation with the British Boxing Board of Control, I think, has become a joke as well. But when you look at guys like Eddie Hearn and some of the other promoters, I don't think they really care about drug testing, because a couple of years ago they were saying VADA was the gold standard, but now it looks like the goalposts have been moved. So it seems like whatever test a fighter fails, they're going to be willing to throw the other whatever drug testing agency under the bus. So that's why I think I kind of agree with what Tony was saying, that either let everyone cheat or do a better job of drug testing, because I think not many people are being tested by VADA. And I'm not talking about the clean boxing program, I'm talking about the actual when fighters sign up for doing stringent VADA testing for a couple of months. Not many guys are really even willing to do that. I remember writing a piece on John Royal Casemiro when he pulled, I think Doné pulled out their fight over the VADA testing. And since then, that's like 2 3 years ago, we've seen other instances as well. I think it was something with the Pascal and Joshua Boazzi fight, something to do with drug testing. It seems like a lot of these promoters are also to blame, but I think it's more of a problem just in boxing. We don't have one infrastructure or one governing body to kind of make a ruling, because some fighters are doing VADA testing, some fighters are doing UCAD testing, just UCAD testing, and other fighters are signing up for USADA. I think there is a problem in boxing with drug testing, and I personally think majority of these guys are cheating. If you listen to the interview with Chris Algieri after Conor Benn got caught, I can't remember. I think it was with Dan Canobio. He said apparently Conor Benn for that fight with Algieri did not do any blood testing, and I think they both only done one urine test after the fight. And
Correct.
he was saying there is a strong possibility that Conor Benn was on PEDs for that fight with Algieri, and I think it's Chris Van Heerden because he started knocking
Correct.
these guys out. Yeah, so I think it's a problem in boxing. I got no problem if both guys are cheating, but I just don't like the whole smoke screen when guys like Eddie Hearn are seen they for safety and all that for drug testing when he's trying to throw VADA under the bus and now he's trying to prevent his fighters from doing VADA testing because I believe Joe Cordina and a couple of
This is
his other fighters are not doing VADA testing.
This is just let me just so what Hamid's saying, by the way, guys. And like I said, Tony, anytime you want to jump in, Tony, just unmute and jump straight in. It's no problem, brother. But I just want to say, I don't know if you guys know this, but when Joe Cordina had his last fight, there was no VADA testing for that fight, as far as I'm aware. And I believe the reason why there was no testing for Joe Cordina's fight with VADA is because there were a lot of doubts, yeah, about VADA testing and what Conor Benn was going through. Remember, at the time, Conor Benn was believed to be alleging that VADA had mishandled his test. You see, that's what that 200-page document was allegedly about. The WBC took that document and threw that document in the bin. I'm wondering if UKAD did the same thing, and that's why they've gone back to food contamination. But it's alleged that Joe Cordina didn't do any VADA testing, and the reason why is because some fighters were quite concerned, yeah, about what was going on with VADA testing. So I 100% agree with you there, Hamid. Yeah, it's the whole again, I'm going to come off Hamid very, very salty about this, and people are going to say, "Oh, because the defense will be attack Ultra. That's what it will be. It won't be listen to the facts. It will be attack me personally for what's going on." But that's how I feel about it. Hamid, can I ask you, what do you think about this case in relation to Amir Khan? Would you agree with me, Hamid, that there's a clear problem here? Amir Khan was given a ban for 2 years. I've got the literal ruling here on the screen available. He was given
Yeah,
a ruling based on strict liability, which means basically Amir Khan was found not guilty of intentionally taking performance enhancing drugs, but because he had them in his system, the strict liability rule applied to Amir Khan, and Amir Khan was given a 2-year ban as a result of that. Do you think that it's correct of me to ask the question, why was Amir Khan banned on the basis of strict liability and Conor Benn has received no ban?
yeah. No, I agree with you. I think money talks, and I think they see Conor Benn as some sort of cash cow. That's why it looks like the British boxing board, whatever, are bending over to Eddie Hearn's demands, and it looks like they're not really going to punish him. But I don't believe Khan was on anything for that fight. Actually, let me rephrase it. I don't think it was to any benefit, whatever they found in Khan's system, because Khan looked like he was a shot fighter in that fight against Brook, and if it was anything, it may have been some sort of contamination or something maybe going to his system that he probably wasn't aware of. Now, I do think they did the right thing by whatever until the investigation was done further to ban him, but there's got to be consistency. If you're going to ban a guy like Khan, then you should maybe do the same with Conor Benn. That's where I think there's a problem. There's no really consistency with the drug testing in boxing, and I think UKAD are corrupt, and the British Boxing Board of Control are have become a joke as well. But I don't think Khan was on anything in that fight. If he did whatever test positive, which I remember when he came out, I don't think it was to any of his benefit. With Conor Benn, I've had suspicion for a couple of years because he was a guy who went life and death with Cedric Paynard. And then suddenly, a couple of years later, he bulked up and he started knocking all these guys out, or he became some sort of big puncher at welterweight. That's where I was highly suspicious, and I think there could be a track record with the gym as well because I remember when Kid Galahad got popped for PEDs. I was at the time very suspicious of Cal Brook. I thought he was on something. I think majority of these guys at some point in their career, even Khan and some of these other guys, Pacquiao, they probably have taken something. But normally there's a ripple effect in the gym or stable. You could tell with one fighter if he's on something, then most likely the others are on something as well.
Okay, Hamid, I appreciate that. Okay, anything else to add, Hamid? And then we're going to move on. Anything else to add? Any final comments from yourself
No,
on the
no, not on
situation?
that topic. Not on that topic.
Okay, all right, okay. What we're going to do
I got
now?
something to add. Hold on. I got something to add.
Jump in, jump in, jump
I
in. Of
saw a
course.
comment that you flashed up on the screen saying that there's a big difference. Gerald Miller got caught for steroids, Conor Benn.
Oh
So,
Jesus,
so
please.
let me break this shit down to this dude that doesn't know anything. So here's the thing about Clomid. Clomid is a post-cycle therapy, okay? It's a PCT. What that means is people who take Clomid take it after they come off of steroids. Why is that? Because the body likes to keep a balance. So whenever you jack up your testosterone through the fucking roof and you come off of that, what ends up happening is you're not producing your own testosterone. Your testes stop doing it. Then, when your testosterone levels drop, you'll see an increase of estrogen. It goes through the roof, which that's where people come down with gynecomastia, which is where it looks like a little titty forming underneath a man's nipple. That's what it comes from when the estrogen goes through the roof. So people take Clomid because it blocks that estrogen from building up. So while you're rebuilding your testosterone, your estrogen doesn't go through the roof, your testosterone comes back, and you don't lose a lot. You don't suffer from the effects. So the only reason to take it is if you were on steroids, period. So you don't know what you're talking about. But we can move on now.
Right, it's all right. Let Nico. I'm not banning you, Nico, because you know you mean well. Nico means well, but it is what it is. Tony
You,
there with the.
Or there's the flip side to the coin. Or maybe Conor Benn wanted Eubank to fertilize his eggs. That could be the other reason why.
Guys, I'm looking at this comment. This is the official video from Matchroom Boxing. The nightmare is over. And reading some of these comments is just unbelievable. Let's have a look at some of these comments. I'm just as happy for Eddie as I am for Conor. Great news. Look, listen. I think he deserves to box again, man. I think, like I said before, I'm glad he's coming back. But to be honest with you, I do think he should have served a short ban. But that's my opinion. Listen to this one. Fair play to him proving his innocence. He can crack on now. This whole process has highlighted the massive issues with the testing system and the British Boxing Board of Control. I don't think this issue has highlighted massive issues with the testing system. I think VADA have done their job. I think they've tested his piss on 2 occasions, and his piss had clomiphene in it. Right? I think the problem is that certain individuals, certain bodies don't want to seem to act on these results, or don't want to seem to accept these results. Quickly, guys, would you agree, yes or no, on that? That the actual VADA testing system, for me, there's no problem whatsoever with VADA testing. VADA have turned up and tested this man's piss on multiple occasions. The problem is that I think certain individuals and certain authorities don't want to accept that this man had clomiphene in his system and don't want to apply the same rules that they apply to everybody else.
No,
Yeah,
I disagree. I disagree 100%. See, I disagree. VADA broke the system because VADA didn't realize that that envelope full of money was to just say that the fighter was clean, regardless of what they found. So they fucked up. They broke code. So they were just supposed to keep their mouth shut, like, oh no, he's good to go, allegedly. So yeah, it's VADA's fault for bringing out the proof.
Yeah, they should have kept it. Hamid, well, to be fair, Hamid, Tony's probably right because, like we said, you know, VADA, there's literally no point in them in them bothering anyway. I mean, they might as well just let everybody pass now at this point anyway, right?
No, I agree with that, but VADA doing the job. I done a really long article on VADA and drug testing. This was like 2019, I think, or 2020. I can't remember the date when Casemiro and Donet, that fight fell through. I think it's 21 actually, maybe a couple of years ago. But I went into great detail of why VADA is superior to the other drug testing agencies, and I've been doing a lot of research on this for quite a while. But I think VADA are doing their job. The problem is these other drug testing agencies are inept, and a lot of these other whatever how do I put it? A lot of these commissions, they like if you want to call Ukad a commission as well, they corrupt. So that's where the problem lies because VADA are doing their job. I think when Dillian White got caught, I believe he got caught by Ukad back then, but even that was mishandled because they didn't report that test. I think until after the fight was it with Oscar Rivas. So if VADA are doing their job, if pops dirty and if someone fails a test, I think it's right for the drug testing agency to report it. The problem is now it seems like it doesn't matter. It happened with Oscar Valdez as well. Some of these promoters don't care because they got too much money to lose, and that's where I think it becomes a black eye for boxing and for fans, because I think the fans are being cheated as well. Like, what is the point these guys being tested if these guys are going to end up fighting even if they fail a test?
Ahmed, that was my point of what I was saying. The problem with VADA is they do their job. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah. I think you maybe you either let everyone take something or you just do a better job of handling this situation, because the amount of fighters that failed tests and they're still fighting or haven't been punished, I do think that's a problem. The other problem is all these guys, they claim they're innocent. I think the only guy I remember that failed the test and said he was cheated was Shannon Briggs. Apart from him, Canelo, Fury, all these guys have had this story of why they're innocent. So I think it is a problem in boxing, but it's up to the fans. How much do fans really care about this stuff? Because I personally think majority of these guys are on something.
Yeah, but you know what? All those guys at least took some portion of the blame, unlike Conor Benn. Tyson Fury, he admitted to eating the boar meat. Whether he ate the boar meat or not, he still took some type of blame. Gerald Miller admitted to taking the steroids. Canelo admitted to eating the steaks. Oscar Valdez admitted to drinking the tea. Like, I could go on and on and on about how many guys, Amir Khan admitted to taking something without knowing. Like, we could go on down the list of people, all these fighters who get caught that admitted. Only with Conor Benn has he said, nope, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, no, that's true as well. Yeah, I agree. That's also why this is more, I think, controversial. But I think if Conor Ben just came out and said he, cheated or was trying to have an unfair advantage, I think maybe more of the public would be forgiven. But the fact that he's trying to claim he's 100% innocent, that's where I think it rubs up a lot of people the wrong way. I personally don't think he was going to get banned for that long, but it looks like he's not even really taken any sort of ban.
No, it doesn't, and that's the problem. Let me ask you guys a question. I want to ask you first, Tony, because you've been in the ring. Then I'm going to ask Hamid. Right? If you get the call, right, and you're a clean fighter, and you get the call for a Conor Benn fight in September, right? Are you satisfied with Ukad's findings? So your manager promoter gives you a call and says the Conor Benn fight's available in September. Are you satisfied in your mind that you're getting in the ring with somebody who's made an honest mistake and he's clean? Tony, first.
Yeah, I'm going Super Saiyan. The first thing I'm saying is I'll do the fight, but there's no testing, and I'm going to the nearest pharmacy and I'm pulling down my pants and the needle's going in my ass, and I'm gonna fight better than I ever fought before. So I'm satisfied because I'm gonna be juiced out the fucking mind, juiced to the gills in that fight.
Hamid? Hamid,
No,
same for you?
what was the question?
So the question was, Hamid, the question was, if you're a fighter, yeah,
Yeah.
and you get a call from your manager, and your manager says you've got a Conor Benn fight in September, they're offering you the fight, yeah, Hamid, and you're a clean fighter, right, Hamid, right?
Yeah.
Are you satisfied with the results of this UCAT test? So would you jump in the ring with Conor Benn in September without any concerns about this individual being in performance enhancing drugs?
I think, look, I've sparred. I've never actually had an actual fight.
Same as me. Same as me.
I
Carry on.
think it depend. I think it depend on money. If I was not getting paid much, and I was told to fight a guy who's juicing or was on drugs, and I do think I'd obviously have to take that into consideration. But say if I was getting paid a lot more, and I was like, a journeyman, then I'd probably just take the fight because I think majority of the top athletes are on something. That doesn't. I don't necessarily think they're all on something, but I think a large majority of the top elite fighters are on something, especially the ones who are not being tested frequently.
Okay. All right, Hamid. Right, Hamid, I'm going to give you the boot now, just for a bit, because I've got possibly Andre the Giant coming in. But Hamid,
All right,
listen,
yeah.
I'd like you to come back on again. Listen, the plan is, if I don't know if I still have a channel because of the things that have been said on this show, right?
Yeah.
But the plan is to go absolutely Super Saiyan for Crawford versus Spence, to go live, but also the show's going to look completely different. So we'll talk about it in new graphics, new everything. I've got plans,
Tomorrow,
big plans.
will
So,
it be tomorrow or will that be
no,
another day?
it'll be live, literally 4
Alright,
5 a.m. in the morning after the fight, live. Everybody's we're gonna really get going. So Hamid, you're more than welcome to be part of the panel for that. Yeah.
All right, no worries. Thanks for having me on. All right.
Take care, Hamid. See you
All
soon,
right,
brother.
take care.
Care.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Okay, right. We're waiting for Andre to call in because Andre's always gives it raw. So Andre the Giant, if you want to call in, call in. Oh, he's straight in. All right. I'm glad Tony's still here. Andre couldn't wait. Andre, Jesus Christ, it's been a while, isn't it?
How are you, brother? I hope all you guys in the boxing world are good.
Well, yeah, I've been trying to keep you off because I know you're going to go in on Tyson Fury. We still have to do that. You have to give your say on Tyson.
Yeah,
Fury.
no, that's for sure, brother. Freezing and cold here in Cape Town, South Africa, but otherwise, all right. Yeah, look, in terms of this Conor Benn, guys, I will just refer you to one point. It's very simple. Irrespective of this last test, which Ukad has now said is cleared, you don't go from a body that he had when he started, which he looked like a little limp rat, to being ripped from top to bottom and as muscular as he is. Even if this last incident wasn't necessarily a doping incident, which I do believe it was. I think he got his cycling out of sync. But if you just look how his body transformed, that's not a transformation by gym work, road work, and all the other boxing drills that the fighters do. There's no way you can have those thighs that he has, etc., if he hasn't been on the juice previously, at least. And I'm sure he got his cycle out of sync, which resulted in him popping twice. So I think there's too much money involved in this fight with Chris Eubank Jr., although, I mean, I think he's going to get smoked now again by Smith. So, guys, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's no way that there wasn't something associated with a doping incident with Benn, because purely due to the fact that he popped twice. That's a big thing. Then it was covered up. Then it was eggs that the WBC said, and Benn denied that. And suddenly when it suited his needs, then he said, oh, yeah, no, it was eggs. So, you know, I mean, there's total hypocrisy here, especially considering when that juice said Baby Miller popped, which we all know is a crook, and I mean, he popped over and over again. Eddie Hearn was all over him. We still have our very big question marks associated with Joshua, as far as I'm concerned. He's definitely, I think, on testosterone replacement, at least as has been mentioned by Dillian White. So if you just look at it from a holistic point of view, there's no way Conor Benn transformed his body from when he started fighting to the way it looks now without some, let's call it, pharmaceutical help.
Let me ask you a question, Andre. I've asked everybody the same questions. And by the way, let me just say, these are Andre's opinions, by the way, you know, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Let me just quickly say, Andre, from a UK perspective here, at this point, I'm thinking, I'll start with VADA testing. Andre, for me, VADA testing is absolutely now pointless in the United Kingdom. Agree or disagree on that?
Totally agree, 100%. It's self-serving. We back it when it's in our favor, and we say there's question marks when the results are against us. I totally agree with you 100%.
The next, sorry, Andre, I just went to make a cup of tea. The next question I want to ask you, Andre, is the state of doping in British boxing. I've come out and said, and at the beginning of this episode, I asked people, and I said, what do you want? Do you want me to be honest, or do you want me to try and be non-biased? And everybody said, Ultra, we want you to be honest. And I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I know professional fighters, some of which have been on TV. I know professional trainers, some of which are very, very well known. As far as I'm concerned, Andre, if you're a British fighter and you're not taking performance-enhancing drugs after this, you're a fucking idiot, as far as I'm concerned. Agree or disagree?
I totally agree, considering the fact that you see there's no consequences. You know, even going back, Ultra, to that Dillian White situation with with Oscar Rivas. We remember that very clearly. Eh? Look how that only came out afterwards, was swept under the carpet. Why is it always around Eddie Hearn's fighters? Have we asked that question? What is going on there? Has he just got a run of bad luck that it's always his fighters? Or is there something bigger at play here? But I agree with you fully with what you've said. You just for an equal footing, everyone's going to be juicy now, and they see that VADA's a bit of a joke. And I think this British Boxing Board of Control was intimidated into this situation. They should have taken a much stronger standpoint against this clown in advance. The other question I also have, Ultra, which has never has been answered. We're aware that this Conor Benn got a 50 grand fine, correct? At the time, and it was all hush-hush, and nobody said what the fine was about. Have you got any idea what that fine was for?
I didn't even know there was a 50 grand. What was a 50 grand fine for?
Yes, there was a 50 grand fine at the time, and Eddie Hearn said in all the interviews, no, it's not related to this. It's some other issue.
Yeah, it's down to misconduct.
Yeah, so I would love to know what that was.
Let me ask you, Andre, another question if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Tony,
for sure.
Like I said, anytime you want to jump in, Tony, you're always welcome, brother. Let me just quickly ask you another question. Andre, in a court of law, and I understand, obviously, an anti-doping panel is not the same as a court of law, right? Yes. I'm going to ask you, Andre, if I go on trial for murder in South Africa, yeah, and I go on trial to a jury, and I change my defense 3 or 4 times during, my trial. Yeah. 3 or 4 times I come up with 3 or 4 completely different defenses. So defense number 1 would be, you don't have the jurisdiction, Ukad or the British Boxing Board of Control, you don't have the jurisdiction to judge me, basically, because I didn't fail a Ukad test. Number 2 was that was believed to be that VADA mishandled his tests, which we know to be true because the WBC alluded to that in their statement and said, they consult with experts and they believe the VADA system was fine. So you've got excuse 1, you don't have the jurisdiction. Excuse 2 was that VADA mishandled his tests. You then turn around and say, and we've got the quote here on the screen, Andre, of Conor Benn saying that eggs had absolutely nothing to do with his failed drug test, and we can see that on the screen right now. And then he appears now gone back with a new team and swung around to food contamination. My question to you would be, if I was on trial for murder and I changed my defense 3 or 4 times during the case, do you think that would hurt my credibility and hurt my case? And do you think that a judge or a jury would use that against me when they make a decision?
Ultra, immediately from their perspective, it would be big red flags because it will be a case of get your story straight. And second of all, it would bring your credibility into question and your whole reputation into question because, if you're sure of your case, you're going to back come hell or high water what you initially said the reason for X, Y, and Z was. You're not going to be jumping around for self-serving reasons. But I noticed when that clown that you're talking about, who Conor Benn got to, let's call it B's PRO manager. He was on Talk Sport a few weeks ago. I don't know if you saw that interview. And this guy was just absolutely selling it like no tomorrow, how he's going to clear this guy's name and et cetera, et cetera. So, the whole big concern, or this company that Conor Benn hired, the big concern with this whole thing, look, I personally cannot stand Conor Benn. I think he's an absolute arrogant little SOB with his little snarling, vindictive ways, etc. Can you imagine the huge fuck you attitude he's going to have now when he comes back? This is not going to be a guy that is remorseful, is humbled, and so on. He's going to have such an attitude, second to none, and he's just going to be running around and saying, I told you so, and I'll clear my name. Can't even think of what Eddie Hearn is going to be in every interview, just singing from the rafters, because of course now he's counting the dollar signs, with this whole case. And I must just mention something else. I never really back what Frank Warren says because I do believe that he's an absolute arsehole, second to none. But one thing he specifically said, which I do agree with, it was a few weeks ago's interview. And he made a very, very, very valid point. And I'll tell you, it's ridiculous. He said he can't for the life of him think why they're making such a huge case for this fight with Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. when none of them are even highly rated. Second of all, it's not even for a world title fight. And third of all, Chris Eubank has lost before. So I must agree with him on that this whole thing has been sold like a major mega fight in the true sense of the Hearns Hagler type thing. But in the meantime, none of them are world champions. None of them are really highly ranked, and they'll get smoked. I mean, it's literally a little a local UK fight, but it's been sold as this massive international matchup, which I think is a joke because it doesn't bring justice to the real bouts that take place that are mega events.
Let me ask you another question, Andre. The same question I've been asking to Tony and the others. If you're an opponent like a Chris Van der Heerden and you get the call from your manager to say there's a fight with Conor Benn available, if you're a clean athlete as well, if you're an opponent, do you really believe that Conor Benn is a clean athlete? Do you have no misgivings about getting in the ring with Conor Benn? If you're now a potential opponent, some opponent is going to be sought and found for Conor Benn in September, and you feel, look, they're going to get compensated very greatly. They're going to get probably more money than they've ever made in their career. So that is a good thing, right? Conor Benn is apparently some form of money generator, and we know that money talks. But I know, Tony, for me, Andre, for me, if I got the call and somebody said, look, Ultra, obviously Conor Benn would kill me, but if I was a professional boxer and someone said, look, do you want to fight Conor Benn? The first thing that I would ask, to be honest with you, is how do I know that this guy is still not on performance enhancing drugs? That's honestly, people ask me for honesty. That would be my honest answer, because I don't think, Andre, that any kind of questions throughout this case on the 12 months have been satisfied. Have we learned, Andre, if you think about, and Tony, you can jump in after this as well. If you think about where we started with this case almost a year ago to where we are with this case now, and chat, jump in and chat, if you want to call in, jump in, give your comments, I'll read them out. Do you guys think about where this case with Conor Benn started 12 months ago, 2 years ago, wherever it started to go, to where we are now? Do you think we've really learned a lot about how this stuff got into his system? What are the mitigating circumstances that are going to clear his name? All this kind of stuff. Do you think, because I don't think we've learned anything. I don't think we really learned, anything at all, really, from 12 months ago about just how this stuff managed to get into Conor Benn's system, how he was able to fail to test, and what these circumstances are. And I think that's a serious problem, Andre.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Ultra, due to the fact that we're none the wiser now than we were then. Think about it. Of course, this whole hearing is a closed room situation. All we've heard about is the eggs. Okay, so a year later, we now still heard about the eggs, and we can surmise from the situation that Ukad has given this guy a pass because this new PRO guy that he had in his team managed to, lay the egg, excuse the pun, for potentially that it was eggs. Yet you originally said it wasn't eggs, or namely Ben, when the WBC said it was eggs. So, none of us are any the wiser than we were back in the day, a year ago. And I do agree with you fully. I mean, any person's going to think when they face this guy that, there's a potential doping situation that's occurred here. And once again, I just purely revert back to what I said, Ultra. There's no way, if you look at this guy's body, that is a gym rat's body that's brought that look. His look on his thighs and that, even though he's much smaller, that reminds me of Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson from the 1988 Seoul Olympic Games. That is the effect that it has on your quads, etc., when you've been juicing so heavily. There's no way that guy, from what his body looked like when he started. Have you seen those videos of what he looked like?
We've literally got the picture up right now on the screen of
okay. But the original picture when he started, that body compared to now, There's no way. There is no way. No gym work, no nothing. It's like telling telling a guy that went to the Mr. Olympiad, that he hasn't got some assistance pharmaceutically to look at. There's no way. Yeah, I tell you now, this is the tip of the iceberg with Conor Benn. I think when he was lower ranked, etc., he was juicing himself to the gills, ultra, because he wasn't a hard punch. He didn't look the way he looked. I think this is literally he's getting a slap on the wrist, but much bigger transgressions happened before. And you know that whole story about his dad, with that blood that was found on the opponent's boot that they tested back in the day. What's that guy's name again? Who's now a vegetable?
McLaren.
Yes, Gerald McLennan. They said that they tested that blood. How true it is, I don't know. And they said that it shows there was substance there. How true that is, I don't know, but nothing would surprise me. But this guy has been on some serious stuff pre this, going back a few years already. You cannot look like he looks just through gym work. It's impossible.
Well, what I learned over the past year is if I was personally to get the phone call to fight him, I would be on so many PEDs going into that ring that I would have abs on my butt cheeks. That's what I learned.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna hop off. Y'all have a good one.
I agree.
Tony, come back for
with
Crawford and
you.
Spence. I need to speak to you about Crawford and Spence, Tony, because I if you
When
can,
are you gonna do that? When are you gonna do that?
straight, literally like a massive live straight after. Like I've got a super
Okay, I'll
show
be
planned.
back. Yeah, after the fight, I'll come over.
Cheers, man. Cheers, Tony. See you soon. Okay, thank you, man. Andre, someone's asked to hear your views on Tyson Fury while you're here. You might as well.
Oh God! All right, please. Yes, let me. I've been chomping at the bit for about 2-3 months. Okay, let me give you Andre's perspective. Okay, first of all, let me start off by saying this: I've supported this guy. I've backed him 110%. Okay, I will not take away from Tyson Fury that he's got a heart of a lion. Okay, I will not take that away from him. He's shown it. He's proved it. He's got a don't quit, never die attitude. I cannot take that away from him. I myself have not been in the ring and been a fighter. I've been involved in a lot of competitive sports and involved in judo and all that sort of stuff, but I've never been in a boxing ring. So I take my hat off to anybody who steps in there, or the octagon, etc. I have the highest respect for them. It takes balls of steel. What he went through with Deontay Wilder, obviously we know in the first fight, to get up the way he did, was brilliant. He destroyed him in the second fight, 100%. I still have a couple of question marks regards the second fight, what happened there. I found it very strange with that flicking of that jab and the glove story. I don't fall for the Deontay Wilder bullshit, but I do believe there was something that was a little untoward there with Fury. I can't put my finger on it, but that glove looks so unnatural, it's frightening. Then if we get into the third fight to me was by far the most competitive and the best fight, because yes, he nailed Wilder. He got dropped 3 times and Fury got dropped twice. So I think that first knockdown one from Fury that Wilder gave Fury was the hardest punch. We saw that shockwave through his flab, etc. And then the second one, I think it was just off balance. It wasn't really a major thing. But the fact remains is, I do believe a lot less fighters would have not got up and not continued. And he came back with all guns blazing and he knocked out Wilder. So I take my hat off to him for that. Heart of a lion. Apparently he didn't train too much because his kid was obviously in hospital that had just been born, and it was that sort of scenario. However, I do have a couple of red flags and questions with regards to Fury on a number of aspects. First of all, just going back to the Klitschko fight. I've been following him for a long time. Now, our South African, our late Corey Sanders, smashed up Klitschko and knocked him out, as we all aware, I think 2002, 2003. Rest his soul in peace, Corey Sanders, who was murdered in this godforsaken place in 2012. But if you take what happened after the 2015 fight with Fury, that whole scam thing about not wanting to face Klitschko in the rematch is gravely concerning. I still remember very clearly how they showed a picture of his inverted commas sprained ankle as a reason why he couldn't do the rematch, and he pulled out. But I think there was a method there. Yes, he was a method in his madness, and I don't think he was psychologically strong enough. Plus, I think he intentionally ducked Klitschko to give him a big FU to create a situation where he felt Klitschko never had the right to have a rematch. And I do believe with his psychological state, Klitschko would have done him in on that rematch. But be that as it may, then getting back to the Wilder rematch, look how he tried to go all routes to avoid Wilder in the third fight with arbitration, etc. And he conned everyone. And then he signed up for the other fight with AJ, and then that fell through with his crooked friend Kinnunen, which he still gave him credit for on a video that time. Okay, so there's big red flags there about avoiding fights. Then we come to this situation with Alexander Usyk. I really and truly do believe, first of all, it was a disgrace what they tried to do to Usyk. Frank Warren himself had said that it's a 50-50 fight. Then suddenly things changed, and the arrogance of Fury when he was walking in that shopping center, the condescending, absolute disrespect he treated Usyk with, I think was appalling, saying 30%, and then he came back and said, "Oh, your management team so stupid to have taken that, etc., etc." And then to play this bullshit game afterwards with trying to fight this Australian. And do we remember, you know what we've forgotten about, guys? This clown, Fury, who I now refer to as a clown because I have zero respect left for him, he was looking for that Thor in fucking Iceland, if you remember. He went there with his father, John Fury, looking for that fight, right? And then he was going to fight this Australian guy, okay? And then he was going to... Yeah, and then he was going to fight all these other guys, supposedly. So I really do believe he's run scared of Usyk, considering he said his hardest fight was against Steve Cunningham, okay, where he got decked as well and he got floored. So I'm telling you that I'm disgusted in Fury. I'm disgusted in the way that he has behaved as a champion. I'm disgusted in the WBC for being lenient towards him and allowing this shit show to take place. Obviously, they're getting their 3%, so they're smiling all the way to the bank. I think it's disgraceful that they've had a situation where they said, oh, there was no one else to fight, when you had Mustov and you had a couple of other guys that they could have fought against, avoiding, because Frank Warren just keeps on saying, oh, there's nobody else to fight. But yet they've only looked at two people to fight. Then with AJ, he tried to get him at a bad time to make an offer. And then recently as well, he's sort of been up and down. So I'm disgusted in Fury. I'm appalled by his behavior. I think his arrogance is out of control. I think his behavior is not becoming of a world champion, never mind a WBC world champion. I think he's running scared and running for the heels from Usyk. And I've never actually thought that I would wish he gets really given a hiding by someone and humiliated. Now that he's fighting this in Ngama, I think it's just a money grab. As it is, he fought Chisora the third time, which was an absolute waste of time, and he couldn't even put Chisora away. So no, guys, I hope he gets stripped. I hope somebody really smashes him. I hope Usyk, if he eventually fights Usyk, humiliates him. But I really do think as well, his worst influence is his criminal father, criminally convicted father, who's now trying to get rid of Sugar Hill. I think he's trying to take the role of Sugar Hill as the trainer. And I do think that he's in Tyson's ear the whole time. They've done away with Frank Warren now with the Tommy, and I think it's not long till they do away with him for Fury as well. And I think Fury is going to go solo, and he's going to earn as much money as he can and cash out before he retires. And I think he's going to avoid wanting to pay any commission to anybody. I'm disgusted in his behavior. I think that Fury is on Colombia's best again. China White, call it what you like. And I do think as well that his arrogance has now reached an ultimate level. I've actually come to a conclusion that I never ever thought I would have, considering that Wilder, I don't believe is a person who's religious. I do believe that he's actually more into evil stuff. But be that as it may, I've actually come to a wish that I hope Wilder smashes Fury in a fourth fight, and I've got a strong suspicion that he'll knock Fury out if he comes in at his normal 220 odd pounds and not the 235 he was for the third fight. And I don't know if that's going to happen, because it seems like Ruiz and Wilder are not going to have this eliminator. And I think it's a disgrace that the WBC has not called for first bids for that fight, and they're just letting this thing just slide. So I think there's backhands to the WBC. Fury's not been held accountable, not been forced to in actual fact defend his belt. And I think he's bringing boxing into disrepute. He always wants to say he's the best of his era. He's beat Wilder, that's it, and he's beat an older Klitschko. So what has he really done? What has he really done? He has, until he beats Joshua, until he beats Usyk, and until he beats that RBF contender. And let me tell you now as well, Filip Hrgović, I really, you know what, guys, I'm telling you now, this Zhang will smash Fury. That guy is potent. I really, really like Zhang. I like his attitude. I like his demeanor. He's quick. He's got power. I mean, and I think that he will do Fury in something seriously. We see what he did to his previous opponent. And I think that he's going to win that rematch with Joyce. And I think if Fury gets to fight him, I'm telling you, there's very few people that's going to stand with Zhilei Zhang. And he's my current favorite heavyweight, to be quite honest with you, Ultra. I really enjoy Zhilei Zhang. And that's basically my story.
I just got a simple response, and then we'll let you go, Andre. My simple response is, I think if Fury wins, that fight will happen next year with Usyk, 100%, in Saudi Arabia, 100%.
Yeah, let's hope he doesn't price himself out, etc.
I'm fully expecting that fight to happen, and I do think it will happen. As long as Fury does the job against Ngannou, and as long as Usyk does the job against Dubois, I think you'll see these two get in the ring in Saudi Arabia, and I think it will be the end of 2024, because I think Fury needs one more after Ngannou. I don't think he goes from Ngannou to Usyk. He might do, but I think he'll have Ngannou. If he beats Ngannou, he'll have one more, and then these two, I think, get in the ring in Saudi Arabia at the end of 2024, and I think all the questions will get answered. Andre, man, I really appreciate it. I'm going to end the show, but I'm back at 7. But I'm back at 7.
Nice chatting, Ultra. Thanks. All the best to all you guys around the world. Have a good one. Thanks.
The people love you, brother. Speak soon.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Cheers. Bye-bye.
The great